Welcome to Evolving Together, where we have candid conversations and question all the messy things happening in midlife. Together, we will learn, laugh, and cry with zero judgment. Your listening means everything, so thank you for being here. Welcome to Evolving Together. I am your host, Heidi Sexton. And before we get started on this episode, I want to mention that we had some serious technology issues when we were trying to record this interview. Fortunately, we have it all sorted out. We managed to do it in Zoom and all is well. But if you're watching, you're probably wondering why the video is going to look so different all of a sudden. I have hardly any makeup on. My hair looks different plant in the background, different clothing. And if you're just listening, you just don't care. You don't give a crap about what I'm wearing. But I felt like I had to say that because throughout the interview, especially in the beginning, you may hear something about the technology issue. This is what happens when you're doing a podcast. And sometimes you have to pivot and pull on your big girl panties and just figure it out. So before any more delay, let's get started. The first time I took a class with my guest today, it was a deeper and more intentional experience. I felt completely safe practicing with her. I did not feel that the things that she was asking us to do were outside of my comfort zone enough where I was going to get hurt. I definitely felt pushed a little, and that was nice. I liked that challenge. A day or two after, I had these muscle pains in areas I didn't even know I had muscles in. And at the time during the practice, I did not feel that I was working out that area. But I remember kind of walking a little funny for a couple days because I was like, wow, that was different. Here I'm thinking I'm just getting a good yoga flow, some stretching, mindfulness, a lovely shavasana. But the benefits continued beyond better sleeping at night. I am so happy to be able to introduce you to Connie Raley-Rose.
Jesus, I had to switch computers.
I know. Oh my Lord, have mercy. Okay. We are recording now. We are doing this shit. Oh
On
my
Zoom,
God.
so we know for sure this is going to
Exactly.
work.
It's all part of pivoting. I think that's just part of midlife. I don't think we've ever have to pivot more than we do in midlife. I'm just saying. So putting that out there. Okay. I'm going to start a little bit from the beginning because I don't know how much of our other recording is going to actually come through. So
Okay.
we got 40 minutes.
We're going to have to make it count.
Okay. So Connie is a dear friend of mine and colleague, and I call her a colleague because we hosted a yoga retreat in Sedona last February called Clearing the Path, which was about clearing out the things that we no longer need and making room for the things that are important to us and the things that we want. We're also doing another one in September in Asheville. And Connie also runs yoga classes along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, as well as several retreats in the country, out of the country, things like that. So definitely check out her website, get on her mailing list because she doesn't always post everything on the website. So you will miss out if you're not on the mailing list. I'm just going to say she will not spam you. Trust me, it's almost the opposite. So
I know I'm the worst.
yeah, you're focused on what you're doing, which is your work, and it's really beautiful. So anyway, I really appreciate Connie for being here. She's helped me through some technology issues, which is just part of life, right? So if you don't mind starting from the beginning again for everybody, if you don't mind sharing your story of how did you find yoga and or maybe yoga found you, like what was your path to where you are now?
Mhm. Well, I started in the 90s. I had been dancing in clubs, dance clubs were all the rage in the 90s, right? Um, and previously, right? I caught the tail end of it. We would dance for hours and then go home and get on the floor and just stretch. And somebody had said the word yoga to me, but I didn't really know what it meant. It was just, a word in passing. And then I was walking through Kmart or Walmart back then and saw a yoga VHS tape on the shelves. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to take that. And it was a vinyasa flow practice. And I wore that tape out. I would practice every day. And so much that I memorized the sequence and then I could practice without the video. And I did that for a while. I don't really know the time span because, that was almost 30 years ago. So I know that my practice would be up here and then it would come down a little bit and, come back. And there would be times without it. But I always went back to that tape.
Mm.
So yeah, that's yoga found me inadvertently like that. And then the truth is, the yoga practice finds you in various ways, but the true yoga, it finds you.
I would have to agree with that. When I was first introduced to yoga, I was a student at Fashion Institute of Technology, not the place that you would expect to find yoga. And that was where I took my first class. I was like 21, 22 around there. And it was wild. I didn't practice again until my early 40s, but
Well,
it was always there, always available. I just
yes,
didn't ask for it or look for it.
right.
So you mentioned the word vinyasa. Could you just explain what that is for our listeners who may be brand new to yoga, just curious, tiptoeing around it, or maybe practicing for a while? How would you describe what is vinyasa?
So the term vinyasa actually means to place specifically or place mindfully. And when you hear vinyasa in a class, it's referring to a sequence of poses that we also refer to as the flow. So it's going from down dog to plank to chaturanga to upward dog and back to downward dog. That is what we call a vinyasa now. But the term means to place specifically. So it is really important to be mindful in that vinyasa.
Mhm.
And you will hear vinyasa class, a vinyasa yoga class means that there's going to be a good bit of those.
Okay.
So prepared to move your body in that way.
Yeah, it's good to know because I've signed up for vinyasa classes and I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I'm going. I know I need some yoga today, so I'm going to go. I want to start with the basics for some of the people that are just listening and have never practiced or maybe very new. We won't spend the whole time here for those of you that do know these things, but I often hear people say, I can't do yoga, but I'd like to do yoga, but I'm not flexible. And so, what what role does flexibility even play in yoga? I think that that's something that maybe is a misconception.
Well, flexibility is important in life. When I hear somebody say, "Oh, I'm not flexible enough to do yoga," number one, people have lots of excuses to not do a lot of things, right? But also when I hear someone say they're not flexible enough, to me that makes me wonder, how flexible are you in your life? Are you willing to make change? Are you willing to do something different? So flexibility is important, but we also come to yoga for flexibility and for strength and for connection and awareness. So there are a lot of reasons that we come to yoga, and there are a lot of reasons and excuses why we don't go to yoga. And that shows up anywhere. If you're going to go to the gym or take a new class, any of those things, it's just that the yoga practice shows you those things.
Right. Yeah, I found that in my life too. So, speaking of starting off, where if somebody says, "Oh, I'm really going to do this now. I'm loosening up my myself. I'm really going to do this." What would you suggest for someone to start? Maybe they've never been to a class. They have no idea where to begin. Should they find an instructor? Should they try a video out? And then within that, how do they know they're with somebody who is safe? And I do want to touch on the importance of safety because with anything like going to the gym or any kind of physical exercise or activity, we have to feel safe emotionally and physically. We're not going to go on a level, I think there's different levels, level 4 whitewater rafting trip if you've never been whitewater rafting, even if you're with a really good instructor. A
Mhm.
good instructor would say, don't do it. So I think, how does, I mean, I asked a lot of questions there, but how does one get started and have that safety, that emotional safety, and know that they're going to be physically safe and not get hurt? Like,
Mhm.
where do we begin?
Mhm. Well, I do think that videos are a great place to start because you can do them at home. You don't have to feel weird or awkward, or you might feel weird and awkward, but you're at home. You're not in front of other people. So sometimes that alone can make you feel safe and secure. Um, but it lets you at least have some movement in your body to kind of get comfortable with that aspect. And there are so many videos online now. You can go to YouTube and just plug in yoga videos, and there's so much. But in that, there are so many styles. And I think that that is where people get hung up because let's say they're willing to try a yoga class for the first time. Let's say it's someone who is not very strong or a little bit timid or maybe just has a lot of uncertainty and they end up in a power yoga class, they're going to feel like, oh God, that was not for me. Someone who is used to going to the gym, using their body, is looking for strength or cardio or something like that, they are going to find a home possibly in a power yoga class. And conversely, for someone who is really ready to dive deep and use their body in powerful ways, if they just go to gentle classes, it's going to feel good, but it's not going to meet them where they are at and where they need to be.
Mm.
So it's really important to not go to one class and decide that that was not for you. It's important to do a little bit of research, go to one class and see how you feel. Maybe you end up in the right class for you the first time. And maybe you don't, but then at least you know where to go from there. So you can ask advice from other teachers. You can say, I went to this class, this type of class, this teacher. It wasn't really for me because of this. It was too slow, it was too fast, it was too hard, it was too easy, all of these things. And then from there, kind of start to feel around as to what sort of class might be more suitable for you.
Mm. I like that because I think, yeah, you touch on a lot of things. I mean, there are so many different types of yoga practices. And I remember one time in New York City, I signed up for, I think it was a hatha yoga. And I was all excited thinking it was going to be like what I did at FIT for my PE requirement. And it was just sitting and breathing or something. It was something like that. And I thought, wait, that's not what I want. I don't know what it was called. I had no idea what I was doing, but it was free. And it was a community class, and I was a broke student. So I said, well, and I went, I think, once, and I was so disappointed. Now I would be totally down
I
for
was
that,
just
you
about to
know?
say, now it would probably suit you just fine.
Yeah, I'm like, bring it, right? So I like that. I think that's important because I think sometimes people do try out yoga. They go to a class and say, okay, that's not for me. It's too
Mhm.
hard, or everybody in the class is so much further along. I think also for a beginner, what kind of advice would you give somebody? Say they do find a good class for them, but they notice there's other people in the class that are, quote, better. Just touch on that if you don't mind.
It's just so important to keep in mind that everybody starts somewhere. And there is no better in yoga. Maybe personally, maybe you, I don't want to say perform because that's not it at all, but maybe you do better in a pose today than you do yesterday. But what's interesting, tomorrow you may do worse. It just depends on where you are in life, in your body, in your mind, in your breath. It just depends. So it's important to go with an open mind, an open heart, and go just for yourself, not to compare. It's so, so important because, I do see beginners come into my classes. Some of my classes are harder than others, but even beginners coming into my classes that are more accessible, And then maybe I don't see them again. Sometimes I will have someone come to a class and they're amazed and they feel so good after, and I don't see them again. Like there are many reasons for all of that, but try not to be intimidated by what you see. Maybe be inspired by, oh, maybe I'll get there one day,
Mm.
but not to have that expectation. People are at different stages all the time. And where we were yesterday, today, and where we'll be tomorrow, they interchange.
Yeah, that's good advice. I know I've gone and practically fallen over in
Yes,
certain poses that I'd practiced forever, and I'm like, I had no balance that day, or I just felt kind of loopy.
completely.
And then other times I am so in that flow. And, I've practiced with you for a long time. I loved practicing with my eyes closed because then I am so in my body, feeling exactly where I am. And I also, and I feel like I'm going to get emotional now. I will sometimes get emotional. I will feel a lot of things rise up. Now, that didn't happen in the very beginning, I don't think. It's been a while. It's probably been about 14 years since I got back to yoga, but touch on that a little bit because that can be a really unexpected thing. And I don't want to scare anybody or freak anybody out, but there are times when those emotions rise up. And whether it's in Shavasana, which is at the very end of the practice where you just kind of lay on your back and you just relax and chill out. Sometimes it's in the middle of something and I just feel, what do you do? I mean, I just kind of, I don't let it just flow. A lot of times I stuff it down, but I know that sometimes you can't. And could you speak on that a little bit? What's happening? Like, why am I crying in the middle of doing something that I know feels good and feels so right? What's going on?
To me, there's more than more than one answer to that. But when you experience emotion during yoga, to me, it is because you are experiencing the true yoga. You are actually connected, which is what we want, right? The mind, the body, the soul are connected. You are connected to that all. You are connected to that space within you that is true. The other thing is that our body stores so much. It stores the emotions that we don't express, and it stores trauma. So when we're moving through the practice, sometimes it could be a specific pose that just releases something just a little bit. And whatever emotion was being stored in that area, and it's not necessarily the physical area, though sometimes it is,
Mm.
but it's that energetic space. That's why the koshas are so cool to me. I'm getting ready to do a workshop on that because there's the physical layer, and as we move through the yoga practice, we are moving through that physical layer. And as we breathe, we are moving through that energetic layer, the prana layer. And then as we continue with that, then we start moving through the emotional and the mental layers. We're moving through all of these layers. And so when we have a trauma or an emotion, we say it's stored in the body. Well, it is, but it's energetically stored, right? To me, that's how I see it. It's energetically stored, but then that energy creates discomfort in the body, maybe pain in the body, or sometimes injury. I know that's hard for people to understand sometimes, but I do believe that I was injured in yoga in my hamstring tendon because I was going through a divorce when I started my 300-hour training. And I had a lot of emotions that I believe I was holding probably in my hips. I was in a simple everyday pose as I was coming up. And in the moment that I was coming up, it's just like I didn't feel a pop in the muscle necessarily, but I felt a pop of some sort. And I was like, okay, what was that? And I was in a moment of my own, I guess, my own trauma, my own thoughts, and that it kind of woke me up a little bit there. But it was an injury that I had for a few years. So when that emotion rises up in the practice, I say we just let it. I've cried in Shavasana more than once. And sometimes I'll even say, if you've never cried during your yoga practice or never felt that emotion during the yoga practice, you may not have actually touched on the yoga.
Mm. Yeah, I've done so many different types of classes, and I know I went to one at I won't name the place, but it was very physical. It felt more like a workout, and it was missing the connection to the heart. It was just like I
Mhm.
sweat my ass off. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it was a workout, I'm
You
telling
get a
you.
good workout.
But I felt like I was kind of missing something. And
Mhm.
do you think that well, that yoga finds people at certain times of their life? Do you think that in times of stress and turmoil and upheaval? Because I keep thinking about, I mean, obviously this show Evolving Together is about midlife and which is ages 40 to 60, but really there's a lot of blurred edges on either side of that.
Mhm.
I feel like it's such a prime time. I mean, I came back to yoga when I was beginning midlife. I didn't know I was in midlife. I didn't I didn't recognize that because I was oblivious. Didn't even think I was old enough to have children and have people listen to me. But I was really at my end. Actually, when I first started practicing yoga, I was coming out of a lifelong depression, and so I remember feeling very light after my first practice, and I thought, "What is that?" I had never felt that before. So I'm wondering, do you think that yoga finds people or people find yoga at certain times more than others? Like I know we all sign up for the gym at the beginning of the year. We're going to do this
Mhm.
thing, but it doesn't seem that way as much with yoga, or maybe it is.
Mhm. Well, that's a good question. And certainly, I do believe that yoga finds us at the right time, just like the saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I do believe that that is true. And, you're not necessarily going to touch on that in yoga at the gym, not necessarily. But I have no problem with gym yoga because, again, everybody starts somewhere.
Mm.
And usually in the gym, it's a physical practice. My hope when I was teaching in the gym that regardless, that it would reach, that the true yoga would reach the people when they were ready. And once I left the gym, I've had people follow me from there and stay with me, and people that came to my classes that I know are now going to other studio classes. And to me, that speaks to that. It's like, okay, it wasn't just, yes, you get all these amazing physical benefits, but it wasn't just that.
Mm.
Once it finds you, you will follow it.
That's been my experience. You kind of, yeah, feel like you're missing something if you're not practicing it,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's at home or in a class. And it's funny, I love a good home flow. I love it. But then I love a good class. It's like one does not replace the other, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is so interesting.
Can I say something really quickly?
Sure.
Because you
Yeah.
had asked me about where to start. And
Yeah.
I said that videos are a great place to start for people that are uncomfortable and they just want to kind of get a feel for it.
Right.
But don't be afraid to pick a studio and pick a class and try it out. Look at the description. You can read the teacher bio. Sometimes you will know. If you feel a tug towards a particular teacher or towards a particular class, go. You may find that you're not ready for that class yet. Maybe it wasn't quite what you were looking for. That's okay. Try something else, but don't be afraid to just try a class.
Yeah. I like that advice because I feel that's the only way you really are going to find a good place where you feel comfortable and safe.
Hmm.
Because even if you can't keep up, there's always child's
Yeah,
pose.
right. Exactly.
The child's pose is one of the most amazing poses ever. With starting yoga at any stage, you said look at the instructors. So I notice a lot of times there's an instructor's name. And actually, what do you like to be called? Instructor, teacher, practitioner? What's the best title? I
I've
mean,
actually been through this conversation with myself because instructor and teacher are so similar. They're pretty much the same thing.
mhm.
But an instructor instructs, which I certainly instruct.
Yes, you do.
But but at the same time, a teacher to me is more broad. I care more about just the instruction. I care about the whole person
Mm.
and their whole life. So to me, I'm both, but I'm more of a teacher to me because I like teaching about life, whether I know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about or not.
Right, right, right. Well, and that's something I think that there's a nuance in those two titles. And then I also think of a guide, a leader. You're really guiding people on this particular journey, whether it starts off very physical or more emotional, or
Mhm.
at some point it starts to blend. I think that for some people, I think it takes them a long time to feel that union, because yoga
Mhm.
means what? Union,
Mhm.
body, mind, and spirit. And I feel like it's so different for everybody. I'm so grateful in the moment when I'm in a class that sometimes I just get overwhelmed. The moment I hear you talk, or my who's ever teaching the class, I'm filled with this immense gratitude. I'm like, I can't believe I'm here and my body can do these things, and I'm going to give myself grace for the things that I can't. And it's such a beautiful space to be in. And sometimes I see teachers' names, and there's numbers after the name. What does that mean? Like if
Mhm.
I'm looking for someone experienced, I've taken classes
Mhm.
from very new instructors, which I don't always prefer. Now I'm okay because I know my body and I know what I'm able to do and not do. You want to be led by someone who's got the experience, especially if you're
Mhm.
first starting out. So, what do those numbers mean at the end of your name?
So the RYT is registered yoga teacher, and that
Oh,
registration is with Yoga Alliance.
okay.
And you can teach yoga and not be registered with Yoga Alliance. As long as you have gotten your certification, you can teach. I like being registered with Yoga Alliance because it lets you know that that teacher has taken a specific requirement to be a teacher. They have taken their course from a teacher who is also registered or recognized by Yoga Alliance as a master teacher, or because you have to have so many hours under your belt before you can teach other teachers. So
Mm.
the RYT is registered yoga teacher. The 200 hour, that is the initial teaching certificate. So everybody takes a 200-hour certification. Once you take your 300-hour, then you are a 500-hour certified teacher. So then you'll see RYT 500. When you see an E in front of the name, that means experienced registered yoga teacher.
Mm.
And okay, so let's see. Oh, I think I am ERYT 500 now. Experienced yoga teacher means that you have those hours under your belt and you are now able to teach other teachers. And then the 200 and the 500 is pretty much the same thing.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
really good to know. So I
Yeah.
think if I were starting out now, knowing what I know now, I would seek somebody that's certified. That's for your own safety, honestly. It
Hmm.
doesn't mean they're going to be a great
Hmm.
teacher, but at
That's
least they were
true.
trained and somebody thought they were decent.
Right.
It's kind of like teaching in school. I had to go to college to become an elementary teacher, and then I had to do more certifications to be the special ed teacher. So that makes a lot of sense. There's a few words that we hear all the time. You mentioned prana and then the asanas, and I did not realize that all the different poses had the word asana on the back end of it. I was just in the class doing my thing, and then I'm like, huh, what is that asana? What does asana mean, Connie?
It just means posture.
Okay.
Posture or pose. That is the
Okay.
asana.
That is good. Okay.
Mhm.
And then prana, what does that mean?
Prana is our life force. So pranayama is breath work. And so prana, the life force, is not breath specifically, but it flows with the breath. So our life force is our vitality. So when someone's life force is really low, there can be depression or disconnection or things like that. And I would imagine anxiety as well, like anything that kind of takes us out of our center.
Mm.
And so that prana is just the life force that comes with the breath. So when we do breath work, we are inviting in more vital energy and we are expelling stale breath, stale energy.
Nice. Okay, good. I like the lingo. I need to know what these things mean. If I'm asking, that means somebody else is probably like, what?
Absolutely.
There's two things I want to know. The first one is why do yoga instructors or teachers, I'm going to say from now on, often close out with Om and or Namaste? I know some do, some don't. And then I
Well,
have one more
and
question after that.
okay. There's some controversy in the community now, I guess, with namaste. Maybe because, I don't know, just this culture that we have been in. I can't even think of the term now, which is probably just fine. You can't take from other cultures,
Oh,
but
cultural appropriation.
yes, thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
But to me, my lineage now, my teaching lineage is Krishnamacharya, and my teacher's lineage is all the way up. I don't claim to be Indian. I have not studied in India, but I do the practices. I don't just do the poses. Like to me, yoga is it is complete and it is well rounded. So
Yeah.
namaste in India, it means I see you. The light that is within me sees that light within you, that light that we all have and we all share. And I can never explain that at the end of a class without it touching me, even just like right now, like it touches
Yeah.
me. That it is a greeting that they use, and I love it. And so I say it because that which is in me honors that which is in you. So to me, it is super beautiful and I appreciate it. And so I say it.
Yeah, it is
Um,
beautiful. It really is a beautiful greeting and closure.
mhm.
I think it might be misused sometimes. People say
Oh,
it,
sure.
they kind of toss it around, but I,
And I think that that's part of the appropriation aspect
mhm,
of it. And there are certain classes that I'm like, I don't think that this group necessarily is comfortable with the
mhm,
word. I mean, that's important too.
right.
And I know a lot of teachers have opted to just say thank you at the end of class
Hmm.
instead of namaste. I'm like, that is totally fine. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
It just feels incomplete to me in certain circumstances. Same
yeah.
with Om. I don't Om every class that I teach. Community classes, and certainly not gym classes for me personally. I do it in those spaces that I feel like I can be the complete teacher that I am. And the Om is said to be that sound of God, sound of source, sound of creation. In the Bible in Genesis, it says, in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was God. And so that Om is that representation, that sound of God, that is the vibration that is the base of everything on this earth. You break down an atom and it's just vibration, it is all that. So that Om is connecting that vibration inside the body, outside the body, to one another, to the whole.
I, I will sometimes in my most stressed moments, I will start oming
Me too.
in the shower, in the car, and it just kind of brings me down. It's kind of
Yeah, settles and
it
grounds
calms
you.
the nervous system
Mm-hmm.
for me personally.
Yep.
So we only have a very little time left. What would you say to somebody that says, "Okay, I'm going to go to a yoga class." What should they expect to feel in their body, in their heart, in their mind, or should there be no expectation?
I would say probably no expectation in the beginning because you are still figuring out how you feel in your body.
Mm,
Because a lot of us are not really in our bodies, so to speak. Like we're not connected to how the body feels and what the body is telling us, right? We ignore its signals and symptoms. We take medication to mask symptoms instead of wondering, what is the body telling me? We're coming to yoga to get more familiar with those signals. So, your first several and maybe even many yoga classes is going to feel strange sometimes. It's going to feel weird because now your body is being asked to move in certain ways. Your mind is connecting English words to the body that don't make sense. Your left foot is like, I don't know where that is. So just go and be open to learning and experiencing, and don't be afraid to mess up or look dumb. You're not going to, because most yoga classes are very supportive. It is a community of people who just want everyone to be a part of it.
Yeah, I have noticed that. I can't really think of any classes that I've been to that weren't like that. So, well, I am so appreciative of your time and being patient with all the technology issues. I don't know where this interview is going to land in the queue of the Evolving Together podcast lineage, but I am the light in me truly honors the light in you. And I'm getting emotional because I'm so grateful for the work that you've done and the impact you've had in my life. And to call you a friend is like the biggest bonus of all. But
Well, thank you for your support. I mean, truly. I mean, in all the ways.
Oh, it's a love fest.
It is.
So namaste to you, and thank you. And I will be seeing you very soon. I'll see you Saturday.
Okay.
I'm bringing my son. I'm bringing my
that's so exciting.
My almost 21-year-old son. I'm going to bring him. He says he's been practicing yoga. He's kind of a gym guy, but he's also very open to that. So I'm excited.
Awesome.
He likes a good workout. And I said, well, let me tell you, Connie does not play. Not on the Saturday class. So I'm looking forward to that. But
awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If you love what's happening here at the Evolving Together podcast, I invite you to become a patron at patreon.com. The link is also in the show notes. I've put together 2 very special levels. The first one is the Evolving Together groupie, and that is only $5 a month. So less than a fancy coffee at a cafe. You probably wonder, what do you get for $5? A lot. At least once a month, you get an exclusive M&M. That's a mindful midlife moment bonus episode. You also get all the free episodes 2 days early. You get access to the community chats. And in copying my girls, Rebecca and Rachel, over at the People Are the Worst podcast, a super hilarious take on idiots who commit crimes, I will shout out your name at the end of an episode the month you join. The second level is the Evolving Together collaborator for only $10 a month. You get all the groupie gets and an additional bonus episode of extended guest conversations, sometimes with a little less filter, and a chance to send in a question, a short story, a struggle, or a laugh out loud moment that I will read in a future episode. And what if you don't feel like spending your money to support Evolving Together and you just want to listen? All good. You can become a free Patreon subscriber and get notified when the regular free episodes drop. Whatever feels right and whatever you choose, I am thrilled to have you along as we evolve together. Thank you so much, and we will see you in the next episode. And now for the disclaimer. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not intended as professional advice. The views expressed are of our own and should not be taken as medical, legal, or financial guidance. Always consult a qualified professional regarding your specific situation. By listening, you agree that we are not liable for any actions taken based on this content.